You're back. This is great. I can see your faces. This is amazing. I'm so grateful. So it's been an interesting process opening up. We have a number of people that will not come if we're inside. They just won't come. And I wanted that. That's fine. And we have a bunch of people that won't come inside if we make them wear masks. Okay, whatever works. Maybe some of them might be here next week when they hear how we're kind of reevaluating that. I love the song we just sang, which was our theme song for many years, and how we're, in my mind, using that idea of rain as a metaphor for all the nonsense we've had to put up with over the last couple of months. I say nonsense. It's so easy to have hindsight on such things, and to think that someone, made a mistake here. And there's no mistakes going on. We're learning from all of this that we're going through. We're learning that that locking people up in their homes for 2 months is not all that healthy. And that even one of Barbara's therapists was telling us that one of the people she's working with had been sober for 30 years and started drinking again. One of many. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of suicides going on. There's a lot of death going on that has nothing directly. It has everything to do with what we're going through, but not directly with the virus itself. So what I want to talk to you about today is a piece of that. And it fits so perfectly into this weekend because it's Memorial Day weekend. You'll notice I wore white because I think that's when you're allowed to wear it, is after Memorial Day. I'm a little early. Okay. Anyway, I have never made a big deal of Memorial Day. I've never actually used it in a talk on Sunday. I kind of say, Happy Memorial Day, let's keep moving. And I've been exploring that inside of me to see what's going on with that. Because when Veterans Day comes, I'm all about Veterans Day. I want to bless and honor and love on the people that put their lives on the line. But talking about people that have died has been hard for me. And this is what came to me this week about this conversation, is that when I was 19 years old, the Vietnam War was still raging in Southeast Asia, and the United States was in the middle of all of that. And we were in this thing called a lottery, where they put everybody's birthday in something and pulled dates. And every year from I was 14, my birthday was 300 and something. Of course, the year it counted when I was 19, it was 9. So I immediately went down and tried to enlist in the Air Force, thinking that would keep me out of the front lines, because I knew that if I got drafted and was going to Vietnam, I was going to die. And what has come to me this week about that memory is this whole notion that everybody that signs up in the military is saying, I'm willing to put my life on the line. And just that from so far away, from where I lived in South Florida, thinking about ending up in Vietnam was terrifying to me. And I know that there were many young men during that time that moved to Canada and were conscientious objectors and lots of other things. And I was too lazy for all of that. I just thought the Air Force would get me through it. But what happened was that was the year that McNamara, the Secretary of Defense, announced that they were discontinuing the draft. I just sat there and sobbed when I heard that, because I really thought I was going to die. But I'm thinking everybody else that went, all those people went with that knowledge that they could die. I mean, we're all going to die, so it's not that that's spectacularly significant, except that it's putting your life on the line in the midst of service to your country, which means service to everybody that lives here. And that's the same thing is true in cultures all over the planet, where people are mandated or volunteer to go into harm's way so that their culture, their lifestyle, their way of being in the world can be maintained. That's amazing. That's extraordinary. And the key element for me there is service. And they call it being in the service. So it really is the word. So I want to talk about this idea of service, this idea of what that means, and just to kind of give you a thought. Yeah, So this idea of service to me is essential. People who are having these issues right now in their lives, they're afraid, they're going back into old patterns, they're doing things that do not serve them because they feel stuck at home. More than once over the last couple months, I've said we're no longer the land of the free because we're told we can't go places. I'm particularly grateful to the federal judge, whose name I don't even know, that said that churches in North Carolina could meet. And I think we're doing it very responsibly, and I'm very grateful that this is how it's unfolding. But this idea of being in service, I believe, is the antidote for everyone. Because the problem that's going on right now is not everyone, but so many people are focusing on how their lives aren't working, how their jobs are gone or in jeopardy, how their businesses are so fragile or closed, about how they can't go to school, they can't graduate, they can't do lots of things that is very normal for us, very, very life-enhancing, bringing life to who we are, the things in our culture that we do, and we're being told no to all these things. So we're inwardly focused on life not working, not we, but people in the world. And my thought is that this might be the way out, to talk a little bit about what it means to be in service. And I'm not necessarily talking about being in service here at the center. Many of you are, and I'm grateful to you for the time you spend coming here and loving this place and supporting it and helping make it what it is. I'm grateful. This is a volunteer organization. In fact, during this time, all our employees, Margot and Rick and April, are not receiving a paycheck from us. And still they're doing many, many tasks to support this center being whole. And I'm particularly grateful to the two of you in the room for the way you keep showing up. And what that makes me realize is that service really isn't about money. It can be attached to money. People in the military are paid. What about hospital workers and the work they're doing right now? Do you think any of them are getting money enough for what they're having to go through, putting their lives on the line? There they are. People like that. God, they're more garb than you are. And they're showing up for work day after day after day, facing the fact that this virus is around. You know, many of them get it. Our own Dee Brooks and Chris Anderson got it. You know, thank God they're healthy and whole and everything's good. But in the place where Dee works, a lot of people got it. And a lot of people have struggled with that. So, you know, this thing is real. Whether or not we have overdone it with the regulations and the controls that have been placed on people, still, it's a serious matter. And folks that in that particular realm of work have done amazing things. And I just honor them. I just wanted to acknowledge them for the incredible work that they've done through all of this. And they continue to do. People leaving the South and going to New York City to work in hospitals. Sounds crazy, but it's all based in this idea of service. They don't have to do that, but they choose to do it anyway. This is massive service that I'm talking about, and I don't want to overwhelm you with this idea of service because that's not my intention. My intention is for us to recognize that service doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be monstrously big. It doesn't have to consume our lives. That it's a giving process. And Holmes speaks very clearly to the givingness of life unto itself. Because the idea of science of mind is that's what this is all about. This is why we have physical forms, so that God can have a relationship with God, so that God can know itself. Because if there's no form, if there's no time, there's no space, there's no mechanism for God to experience God. So here we are. The God beings that we are, experiencing one another, going through all the trials, the tribulations, the joys, the wins, the successes, all of the experiences of life, so that God can reveal itself to itself. Wow, isn't that wonderful? So that's what we're in the midst of doing. That's why we come together. That's why this is so important for us to be together. And as important as our work is online, you guys have an edge in the room because you get to see each other. You get to be in one another's countenance, that's the word. You get to remember who you are by the reflection of others around you. And I'm so grateful that all the people that do go to our website and watch this talk and other talks and listen to the meditations, and I'm so grateful that they get something of value out of that. And they too need to have someone around to interact with so that God can be revealed to God. That's what we're doing. That's the whole idea of it. So whatever the task is, it doesn't have to be a massive, life-changing task. And I found some words of wisdom from several different people that speak to that, and I want to share them with you. Beginning with Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So that rather than sitting at home, and I know I'm talking to the choir right now, sitting at home and begrudging this experience we're going through, do something. Do something for someone else. It doesn't have to be monstrous. It doesn't have to take over your life. But something. Reach out. Make a call. Check in. Smile at somebody, a stranger in Ingalls. That's a grocery store if you don't know what that is. That's a good starting point. And there's another teacher who happens to be a Mormon, a former president of the Mormon Church, who is German. I didn't even know they had the Church of Latter-day Saints in Germany. His name is Dieter Uchtdorf. And he says, as we lose ourselves in service to others, we discover our own lives and our own happiness. So this process of reaching out to others has a dimension to it that changes how we experience life. It changes our dynamics because we're no longer looking at what's not working over here. We're encouraging somebody else to get through the challenge that they're going through, whatever it may be. And as I have always said, when we lift someone else up, we are automatically lifted up as well. So rather than getting stuck in the issues of the day, stepping out to someone else can make an extraordinary difference. Here's what the Buddha said. If you light a lamp for someone else, it will also brighten your path. There's some medicine in here, folks. There's something to know here. There's something to look at. And frankly, that's what's going on in my life and has been for a long time. In my youth, when I was in my 20s and early 30s, it was all about making a lot of money. It was all about living in a big house and driving a new car. And I did all that stuff. I had my own business. It was called Waterhouse Engine and Pump Company. It did oil field supplies, and we, up until 1983, I think our annual sales rose to over $4 million. So it was a viable company. I had about 30 employees in a fabrication shop, and I went out and sold to different oil field supply companies the products that we manufacture, put together, we fabricated. And I made lots of money. I was not happy. My marriage was a wreck. I was screwing up right and left on things. I couldn't quite get my act together. Because the truth is that that's not why I was on the planet. That's not why I came here. And at a point, it was in 1983 that the oil industry collapsed. I'll tell you how it happened. Most people don't know this. But the thing that made it change is all of the oil companies paid drilling companies to drill for oil. And they paid them by the day. And at some point, somebody got smart and figured out, why are we paying by the day? Because the drillers would slow down and take that last couple of days of drilling and do 2 weeks so they could bill it to the oil companies. And the oil companies said, not anymore. We're going to pay you by the foot. Ouch. And it changed everything. And it closed my company. I had a business consultant that said to me, so what if we could take your business and kind of revamp it into something different? And I looked at him without even thinking and said, no, I'm out of here. I knew it wasn't my calling. I knew it wasn't why I was here. And I had to go all the way to Australia and find my first spiritual teacher to understand that my work in the world was to be of service to people. And you could argue that selling oil field equipment was in service, and I suppose it is. Somebody's got to do it. God bless those that it's their calling. It wasn't mine. So we have to be true to ourselves and find a way to, in our lives, include other people. We are not in this by ourselves. And those of you that have businesses and customers or clients or patients, you understand that. If those folks weren't around, you wouldn't have anything to do. It's all about being in service. It's all about supporting others in their dreams and their desires and their way of creating life. And the cool thing about the system is that once you figure it out, you can make money at it. And you can have a good life at it. But you don't start with the money. You don't start by saying, I want to make X number of dollars. That's shallow. That's empty. That's not enough. The thing to have is a way to connect with others and to provide something that is unique to you. Even if there are 1,000 other people doing it, they're not doing it like you are. They're not bringing that to life like you are. That's what's important. That's what's meaningful. That's what makes a difference. Desmond Tutu. I like this guy. He's a little bit of a renegade like me. He says, do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that transform the world. So it isn't about some grandiose plan. It's about doing your part, your little part. Bring your little bits together in service to others. And it truly will make a difference when we're all doing it, when we're all creating that in life. That's where we're trying to get. And that sign out on the driveway, this is what this is about. This is about the fact that you come into this place. Again, thank you. Thank you for coming into this place. And you get something that makes your light a little brighter, that makes the smile on your face a little broader, that lifts you up, and then you take it out into the world. And when you do, in however you do it, you make the world a better place, just like Tutu says. You make the world a better place, and I make the world a better place. And we're all in this together, and that's what we've come to do. So one final thought. One final thought. Comes from a Hindu mystic that I didn't know, but I love this quote. His name is Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore, okay, either way, okay. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. Is that brilliant? Yes. Let that be your truth. Let that be the truth of your being. That when you touch another heart, when you touch another life, you make the world a better place. And the joy in your heart can shine brightly for all to see.